This is what you didn't know.
Hello, everyone. It is that time again for What You Didn't Know session. So, what you didn't know, today's topic is the Pledge of Allegiance. I know that pledge you learned in school. You were taught that you're supposed to do this because this honors the veterans that fought for our life. And unfortunately, that's not true. That's been a lie ever since it started back when whatever year it was that the lie started. But the pledge was not written to honor veterans or soldiers or to honor anyone in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't even written to honor, period. And so I'm going to tell you a brief history, not the entire history. Well, I'm basically going to tell you the history, but there's a lot more details that I didn't tell you, which, of course, as always, you can go read, get a book and read it for yourself. But the Pledge of Allegiance actually did not start honoring people, and it still doesn't. But the very first Pledge of Allegiance was written by a Civil War veteran by the name of George T. Balch, B-A-L-C-H, or Balch, one of them. He believed that American children, especially American immigrants, whether they migrated here or they were born in America and their parents were immigrants, he believed that they should be taught to be loyal to America. And so the original pledge was written to be taught to be loyal to America. It was never written to honor. The original pledge, the very first pledge, was actually read as such. We give our heads and our hearts to God and our country, one language, one flag. As you can see, that's very, I don't want to say racist, but rude, because you don't take someone's land and then force everyone to speak one language. But the first pledge basically believed that we should only be speaking one language, which was, of course, English. The pledge was recited from 1887 and it continued to be recited along the pledge you know today till 1923. The pledge most Americans are familiar with was written by Baptist minister Francis Bellamy. He did not like Balch's pledge. He thought that it was too childish or whatever. And so he decided to write his own pledge. As Minister Bellamy, as well as George, he also believed that we're supposed to be teaching children loyalty to the country and patriotism. And he believed that patriotism should be taught in school. Prior to this, they didn't do that. So he decided to create a new pledge different from Balch's in that he did his best to get it in public schools. And of course, as you know today, he succeeded in getting the new pledge into the public schools and was taught in the schools and was recited in the schools. The pledge that he originally wrote went as such. I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation indivisible with equality and fraternity for all. At the time he wrote it, he realized that women and non-whites do not have equality and technically don't have fraternity either. So that's why he decided to change it to with liberty and justice for all, which women and non-whites didn't have that either, but he thought that was a better way to say it, because obviously only white English people in America had equality. No one else did. So in 1892, James B. Upham, U-P-H-A-M, decided to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus arriving at the Americas. As we know, he didn't discover America. But anyway, he decided that we needed to celebrate, the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus doing whatever he did. So on October 12th, 1892, they had this big event, and that was not only the first day Christopher Columbus Day was ever celebrated, that was also the very first day, October 12th, 1892, that the new Pledge of Allegiance was recited in all public schools all over America. Some years later, the information that I researched didn't say how many years later, but some years later they decided to remove "to my flag," and that's when they added "to the flag of the United States of America." And in 1948, Louis Albert Bowman suggested that they should add "under God" to the pledge, which they agreed to do that. And now we have the pledge today with United States of America and also "under God," which those terms originally were not in the original pledge. Originally, the pledge was recited with your right hand over your heart, and once you said to my flag, you were to raise your hand up like this towards the flag. And obviously, if you know anything about history, once the Holocaust started, they stopped doing that because it looked like the Heil Hitler Nazi salute. So that's when they decided not to do that anymore, and they just kept your hand on your heart throughout the pledge. In 1940, Jehovah's Witnesses started to complain that saluting the flag was considered idol worship and against their religion, and they fought it and they won. And in 1942, the Supreme Court passed a law stating that no one has to recite the Pledge of Allegiance while in school, nor does anyone have to stand during the pledge. It was still primarily only spoken in the school system, public school system, and by children only. Adults didn't take place in saying the pledge because you didn't say it anywhere else. So I'm going to read to you what the Supreme Court wrote. I wish they would just write in plain English, but this is what they wrote, the law that's in place still today, that no one has to stand or recite the pledge. If there is any fixed star in our constitutional constellation, not even sure what that means, it is that no official high or petty can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion, or force citizens to confess by word or act their faith therein. In other words, no one with a title or not a title, no one with official title, that's what they mean by say high or petty, meaning someone with official title or someone without title can describe what is okay to do in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion. And so if there are any circumstances which permit an exception, they do not now occur to us. In other words, we're not allowed to tell people what they're supposed to pray, what they're supposed to recite, what they're supposed to do. That has nothing to do with the legal laws that are already set. So as of now, it's illegal to force people to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. And again, for those who say, what about the veterans? It never had anything to do with the veterans. Again, it was just to teach children to be loyal to the nation of America. Which, if you think about it, doesn't make sense because I don't think we should ever teach children to be loyal to their nation. As we know, again, mentioning the Holocaust, many Germans were loyal to Germany during that time. And unfortunately, many Jews' lives were lost because of it. And thankfully, on the other side, many Germans decided not to be loyal to Germany, and because of it, many Jews' lives were saved. So we should never teach children to be loyal to their nation, especially being that every nation has done something wrong. We should teach them to be loyal to what is just, what is right, and what is good. And we don't teach them by forcing them to recite something. We teach them by simply doing it ourselves. And so when we learn how to be just, right, and good, our children will learn it too, and they won't have to recite anything. And so the Pledge of Allegiance is not necessarily needed to be recited because it doesn't honor anyone, any flag, any nation, or any veteran, or any soldier, or anything at all. It was always recited to teach children to be loyal to America, and that is it. So that's what you didn't know about the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm not saying you should stop reciting it, but definitely leave people alone who decide not to, because there was never any purpose or worth of the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks for watching. See you again. Have a great day.